Up close, webcam, microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, pistols, fondle slab of choice, computers, internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the cartoon comes from as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information. Because seriously, they just read two sources whenever I try to prove out one of these things. It's not a... You expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to sadly disappoint another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man, huh?
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions, eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of...
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2. Within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America, we bring you the Ochelli Effect.
It's like, damn sure, no, I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for...
That's that.
For a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out.
And yeah, that is that. And all that noise, of course, means it's Saturday night at 8 p.m., the Ochelli Effect. I'm Chuck Ochelli here on UCY.TV radio. We are live. So, tonight, I thought I'd do something a little different because, after all, I've been doing, something a little different, it seems like, every week. But trying different things, seeing how they work out, seeing how you guys receive them. But tonight I know I got a winner for sure because I got my friend with me who is the host of another show here on UCY, and that would be the man behind the mic at Boiler Room Radio. Jim Funky, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Chuck?
Well, it's been an interesting week, I'll give it that. But, I'm telling you, man, your voice, I told you this earlier, but I'm going to tell you on the air, your voice is like the most amazing one we have on the network. I mean, you're not all raspy and ratty sounding. Look, I'm not trying to, take a shower with you, brother. I'm saying that your voice is just awesome. It's professional, it's clean, it's crisp, it's nice and measured and everything else. Now, if we could just get you to stop dropping F-bombs during your show, you'd be perfect, man.
Yeah, that's true. And I've been trying for the last couple of weeks. I've been really trying. But last night we were talking about cops beating the crap out of people and I just couldn't do it. It's when something gets me super passionate, those F's just slip out. I don't even realize they're coming. But I think I make them, if you can call it appropriate, right? Cause I do it to get people's attention and to express my level of frustration. And I think that comes across, and it's not every other word. I don't try to drop it every other word, but yeah, I do need to temper myself just a little bit.
You know what? Everybody's got their style, but I'm just saying that's it from like a regular on-air professional announcer pretty much. Because, that and of course I hear the birdies in the background, so I guess you got a little... Oh yeah,
sorry, I got my critter mic going. Is that okay?
That's fine by me, man. Everybody loves that. I love it. The nature sounds are great. I would leave my windows open and see if I could get some of the birdies outside of my place, but unfortunately there's too much other human noise happening. I don't mind the nature noise though,
Right.
That's great. How is Carl doing, by the way?
Carl's all right. That's actually why I turned the critter mic on tonight. I don't know. The sun's just now going down. We might actually be able to get his ass on the air for once,
That would be great.
He's never come on my show. I've tried and tried and tried, but the sun keeps going down later and later in the day. So I'm hoping, cause that's what sets him off is when the sun goes down.
Right. And for the people that listen to me that are, that listen to me later on downstream and all that, Carl is a rooster. So, yes. Jimmy's got one rooster and 3 hens right now?
Correct.
Thelma, Louise, and I always forget the third one.
Marge.
Marge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Oh man. But I love the sounds of nature, man. They're definitely, there's definitely something to it. Every morning, Kim goes out on the porch and listens to the birds herself just to try and relax a little bit. So, and I like catching them when I'm, opening my eyes in the morning myself. But I'm not really in a completely, rural area where I'm going to get a lot. So anyway, I want to get into a couple things with you because, you know how I usually do my show, and it's kind of an interview based thing. It's not exactly what I intended when I started, but turns out that's what it seems like I can do pretty well. So that's what I've been doing. I'm wondering about something though, because I came in only in about February this year, and you had been on for quite a while to start with. How is it that you developed your show exactly? I mean, I'm sure everybody on the network's aware of it, but I'm curious about this because you got the financial show, and personally, I don't know, like to my heart, I know that you involve your mind with a lot of different issues, but I mean, a big majority of what you guys do, you and Lance, which is great. I love the show, but it's financial based stuff, market based stuff. And I know, it seems that's more like Lance's area, and then you get off into different things on news stories that are relevant and all that. But meanwhile, you're the kind of guy who's pulling back away from, populated areas and all that. So it seems almost like a contradiction, but I know it's not. But I'm curious how that came to be exactly.
It just kind of randomly developed over time. I never really, when I originally started doing my show, I wanted it to be a call-in show. I just had one show a week, and then, it was only 1 hour, and then Jules gave me 2 hours, and then it kind of blossomed from there. She had open slots and she wanted me to do some more time, so I picked up the Monday and the Friday for an hour. And now, mostly on Monday and Friday, I don't even open the phones because Lance and I can run our mouths for an hour with no problem, right? I mean, we've got enough information and stuff to fill it up, and then I kind of, randomly look at the chat room once in a while and see what's going on in there and maybe pick up some things out of there, but it just kind of organically grew. I started out by myself, and then Lance and I met through Facebook and became better friends, and it just took off from there. I asked him one day if he wanted to come on and talk about some financial stuff, and it just kind of stuck. So that's how it did it. That's how it happened. Kind of like a mushroom, right? Growing out of a turd.
Well, I don't know how much of a turd it is, but these things kind of develop organically. It seems like when we're not stuck with a format, it just kind of happens that way. Right. I mean, my original idea was I was going to read off certain things and, just connect historical events to current events and things like that. And that's what I was going to do for 2 hours once a week. But as time has gone on, it seems like I'm more of an interviewer and, not exactly what I intended. But, there's a couple other things that go on your show. You got the Hyper Report. Yeah. And, you also got Manarino. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The first couple times I heard Manarino, I was not happy to hear him. I don't know what it was about him, but something just irked me about the guy.
Yeah, he kind of has that effect on several people. There's quite a few in the chat room that don't like him. I don't know why. I mean, I don't really. He seems like to be a pretty straightforward guy to me. He does talk a lot about making money and how rich he is and blah blah blah, and all his friends are making money and whatever. But he's a Wall Street guy, right? That's what you expect from them. But he's kind of got a different air about him. He tells the truth. He's like Max Kaiser. I don't know if you listen to Max Kaiser, but he reminds me a lot of Max Kaiser when he was younger. Guy that was in Wall Street, but still told the truth about what he was doing. He's like, I'm raping you people. I'm taking all your money. Look, it's buying me this. It's buying me that. Look. Kaiser was like that when he was younger, and Manarino's like that. So yeah. That's just what kind of stuck with me is that he didn't bullshit anybody. He tells the truth about what's going on Wall Street, and he tries to prepare people for what's happening, what he sees coming. Because like he says on his videos, he was trained as an analyst. He wasn't trained as a broker. So he looks at Wall Street from a whole different perspective. And I don't know. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of Wall Street people in this chat room, but the reason that I air the financial stuff is because it affects everybody. Whether you believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, it affects everybody. So.
Oh yeah, that's the bottom line with him. And I'll tell you, he does kind of grow on you though, because after a little while, now I look forward to him. because again, it came across kind of nasty to start with, like just that air of arrogance kind of, and I didn't like it. But I was wondering why it was that it was on your show. But then the more I heard it, the more I understood where it was coming from. And exactly right. It was like, look, at least this thief is going to tell you I'm robbing you.
Right.
And you're dead on with that. I mean, when it comes to the financial stuff, I mean, I'm a little bit lost. I understand, a couple things about stocks and how certain companies work and things like that. But I don't really understand Wall Street. I mean, I don't really know anybody that's outside of Wall Street or outside of the financial, let's just say, game entirely that understands it really. Because who I've ever spoken to that was involved in that stuff has always told me, you don't really know what it's like unless you're in it. And
right.
That's the great thing about him. Plus, he also stresses trends, which, as we've learned over time, if you watch the trends of things, you can figure out a way to survive certain things that go on. So I do think it's a really important piece of information. And then the hyper report, that's just great. I love that.
I got quite a few more that I listen to on a daily basis too. Those are just the ones that we figure, kind of fit into the show because the hyper report, Scott goes over everything, all the world headlines, all the local headlines around the United States that are happening, anything that's pertinent. And then I got I drop a lot of Potter blog too, Pissing on the Roses blog, because he keeps up on all the world health events, like Ebola and H9N1 and H5N1 and all the, bird flus and whatever. So I just want to keep people up to speed on what I'm hearing out there, even if I think it's kind of a little bit of misinfo or disinfo. If I think there's this nugget of truth to it, I'm going to go ahead and air it, and then I'll view my opinion afterwards, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been kind of taking that attitude lately too, and I'm going to expand my guest list a little bit because, I had brought on, I kept certain people off to this point because I didn't want to bring them on because I didn't really value everything they had to say. And I was trying to vet people very, very carefully. And then I realized that, if I bring somebody on who's completely full of it, I'll be better off anyway because I can show exactly how full of it they are.
Right. You give somebody enough rope and they'll hang themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to have a few more of those kind of shows, and we're probably going to have some more confrontational stuff coming up real soon. What's funny to me though is that I don't know exactly how much is being understood sometimes, by those that are listening to us because, I know we're all doing this for our own motives. It all comes down to basically the same thing, and that is that, we'd rather not see the world in the condition that it's in, and it's just that simple. Some of us have a more dire view of that than others. Some of us are hopeful, some of us are not, but nonetheless, we all agree that the world is not in the condition it should be.
No.
I think, yeah, right. One way or another, every which way you look, whether it be biological or, according to the social norms and, our species, which is, the thing we should be focused on here, and not just our species, but if we don't protect and defend ourselves, if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to take care of anything else anyway. And, I think that's something that I always try to, put forth, like we should all kind of try to work together a little more as opposed to fighting with one another. But I don't know. There's just some people that, oh wow, sounds like you got a vehicle going by you there.
Yeah, that's the Baxter County Sheriff's.
Oh, nice.
I just looked out there to see who it was because we got a life flight chopper that goes around here, and there's a couple of private guys that fly little Bells and a couple of little kerosene operated ones, But that one was black and had the big shiny gold star on the side of it. It was Baxter County Sheriff.
That's cool. They got to do their thing.
Yeah. When you live in the forest, that's what you see. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of squad cars running up and down the roads here unless they got a reason to, because these back roads tear them up. So
yeah,
they fly a lot.
Yeah, no reason to destroy the vehicles, so might as well just take a look overhead, see if anything's out of place.
Right, and they can get somewhere 10 times faster than they can in a vehicle in a helicopter, And if they're out looking for somebody, there might be a boat in distress or something out on the lake, they'd go out and do that kind of stuff, so.
So, and like I said before, I also noticed that, and here's the funny thing about the Hyper Report, though, for the past couple of weeks, I noticed that you and Lance were actually ahead of him, which I thought was kind of funny, because he puts one of those out.
Yeah, unless he's on the road traveling or something like that, but usually, yeah, he'll have something that hits every day by, I'd say 8 o'clock Central in the morning. And Full Spectrum Survival is another one that I listen to quite often, and he usually puts his out right after midnight. So, for that day, for the following day, he'll put his out right after midnight. Sometimes he misses a couple of headlines that break between midnight, or whenever he drops his video to YouTube and the sun comes up. Sometimes he'll miss some, like a major earthquake every now and again, and just some other stuff that happened in the Middle East. But still, he's got a pretty good finger on the pulse of humanity too. So that's Full Spectrum Survival if anybody's interested on YouTube.
Yeah, plus, you put up some stuff on YouTube now and then. I always, I have trouble finding it though. I had the link for a little while. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah, I'm just Boiler Room Radio. Almost everywhere you look for me, it'll be Boiler Room Radio, all one word. But, I haven't put anything out on YouTube in a little while. I did a couple minute clips for my solar stuff just off my iPhone, but, I haven't done anything major. I'm going to do one long video, probably about a 30-minute or 15-minute, 30 minutes, something like that. Maybe I'll do 2 segments or whatever. Just going around the property here this summer and showing people what I got and how I got it set up and all that good stuff. And I'm going to kind of gear a couple of shows toward that too. I got a friend of mine, we were talking earlier, Jake Anderson. He's going to come on here in a couple of weeks, kind of come over to the studio and sit down, put a mic in front of him. And I think on a Wednesday, I'm going to try to get him over here on a Wednesday. So we got 2 hours and open phones and all that good stuff. Cause he's a health nut. He works for, Nature's Way, and, he's a long distance runner, runs through the hills down here in the Missouri Valley, and, has some pretty interesting stories about being on some runs. So, yeah, they just take off down some trails and stuff and meet things and critters, and pretty interesting.
Yeah, you can do that. No matter where you're at, you'll definitely discover that you're not readily aware of, on a daily basis if you go into different areas and things.
Oh, you're not alone there anywhere. You walk off the street. Even just walking down you're not alone anywhere in these woods. There's something everywhere.
Well, that's another thing too, because a lot of times you talk about natural remedies. And, and I realize that you have the same sort of, disdain for pharma, big pharma as I do. And,
oh, yes.
But here's the thing. I'm sure you weren't like that your whole life.
No, absolutely not.
You were taking your, silver coated Tylenols and whatever the hell else at one point in your life too.
Well,
what exactly woke you up to not, relying on that kind of crap?
I'd go to the doctor if I had something seriously wrong with me. I've never really been a big doctor believer.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was in the military, I roomed with a guy that was a physician, in the military. And, he kind of laid down the lowdown, He said that this is all experimental. We don't really know exactly what we're doing. We don't know why aspirin stops your headache. We just know it reduces your blood pressure and thins your blood out. And we have no idea what these things do. They just do. They just do. We don't know why. We don't know what they're going to do in the long term. They don't, and they don't test anything anymore. It's obvious. And, okay, what turned me off on it?
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's see. In 06, my dad died. From the mid 80s until 06, my dad fought with coronary heart disease.
Okay.
He had several heart attacks. He had a couple of major open heart surgeries, multiple bypass open heart surgeries. He went to, the Mayo Clinic a couple of times, and they did the angioplasties on him there, where they go up through your crotch and open the vein up and with the balloon and all that. And nothing ever seemed to help anything. You know what I mean? Now, granted, he was a very, very healthy man when he was younger. He was very athletic. He used to trick ski. He climbed poles all the time when he worked for the, power company and the phone company, and all, he was a very athletic man. I don't really recall him having a terrible diet. You know, I ate the things that he ate because he cooked for the family most of the time. We had a lot of steaks. We had a lot of raw, you know, not raw, but red meat. You know, we did a lot of hamburgers out on the grill, and I don't know what caused it. He smoked a lot. Didn't really drink a whole lot. I mean, he drank pretty regular beers and stuff like that. I mean, most, you know, normal drinking, I guess, if you can call it that. But I don't really know what caused this coronary heart disease. I don't know if it's something that went on in his family back in the past, because I don't know his medical history that well. But for whatever reason, it hit him hard. And after his first heart attack, he kind of slowed down a little bit. He quit smoking, quit drinking a whole, you know, quite a few. I mean, he wouldn't drink. He drank near beer. You remember near beer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he drank that for a while until he couldn't stand the taste of it any longer. But he, you know, he quit drinking the hard alcohol a lot. You know, he wouldn't have mixed drinks very often. But that didn't really slow him down. I mean, the heart attacks didn't really slow him down. The thing that slowed him down was after a while, he started to develop diabetes, and he couldn't get past that. He would do the testing and he'd adjust the diet and stuff, and he never had to shoot insulin or anything like that. It got advanced to the where it took his leg. It took his left leg, or his right leg, excuse me, below the knee. That's what slowed him down. That's what really put a kink in everything. Now, the way he lost his leg was flying to Vegas.
Flying to Vegas?
Yes. His veins were so weak in his legs from the heart disease, I guess, or whatever the plethora of drugs that they had him on that was eating him up from the inside out. When they pressurized the cabin of the plane, it collapsed his vein.
Wow.
In his calf. And he complained about the pain the whole flight. I remember Mom saying it. And when they got to Vegas, they got off the plane and went to the hotel room, and they tried to do a little bit of gambling. They never really felt right. And I don't think they flew back. I think they actually rented a car and came back. And because they only stayed there a day or two, and they drove back.
Can't blame them for that. Who the hell would want to fly after you had after you were in so much pain after flying?
Right. Well, he knew something was wrong. He knew there was something wrong. And when they got back, they went down there and did an ultrasound on his leg, and there was almost zero blood pressure down to his ankle. So they tried to change the vein out, and they put a cadaver vein in it, and then they put some kind of man-made shit in it, and nothing worked. And they wound up having to take his leg. And I think that was like a soul punch to him, right?
Yeah, that made him.
Right. It made him realize that he was human, that he wasn't going to live forever. And I think that just took the wind out of his sails, and, you know.
That's really intense, because, that's usually what winds up taking somebody when they start to get sick, regardless of, what type of treatment they look for. You know, when they get themselves to a place where they feel like, you know, this is only going to get worse. A lot of people give up because they don't want to go through it.
Right. But here's the thing, right? They had him from the time he had his first heart attack under strict doctor's scrutiny. He was going to the doctor constantly. You know, after you have something major like that, because his first heart attack, baby, he was in there for a double bypass. They cracked his chest, and he wound up with staples and a big ass scar, and, you know, so from that moment on, he was under the thumb of a doctor. They were telling him what to do. They were telling him what to eat. They had him on all kinds of goddamn medications and shit. And you think, you know, if that's a really healthcare system, that he would have got better, right? That he would have been healthy, because he was under a doctor's care for the rest of his life, which I think was shortened by about 10 years because of them. You know,
I got to concur with you. Huh?
He never got his energy back like he used to have. Now, I understand he had a heart attack, right? But I've seen other people bounce back from heart attacks, cancer, you name it, you know? And I've seen people live into their 90s, late 90s. My grandmother lived to be 93. You know, my mom's mom, she lived to be 93. Alzheimer's didn't get her until right at the very end, and I don't think it was Alzheimer's. I think it was just a straight case of dementia, because she was never a soda drinker or nothing like that. I mean, she was a healthy lady, right? She was born in 1900. She went through all that stuff.
Wow.
So she grew her own vegetables in the backyard and, yada, yada, yada. Very healthy lady. So she was in her 90s. That tells me something.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right.
Also, it seems to me as though, and I know this is kind of a weird aside, but the fact is that women just seem to live longer anyway.
Man, my dad died at 73.
Yeah, but women just seem to be more durable. I mean, they just do. I don't know what that's about, but
because men carry stress a lot different. Our physiology is different too.
Yeah, I know our physiology is different. I mean,
men tend to get injured more. So, I mean, if you're just looking at the law of averages on numbers and whatever, it's always going to play out that way. You don't see a whole lot of women falling to their deaths off of sky rises and, stuff like that, because they just don't go out there and do those kind of things. So that's going to skew the numbers, right? Women don't get into, and I'm generalizing now, so please don't throw any rocks at me, women, but they don't tend to get into, high risk jobs. So.
Right. I mean, there's not as many hunting accidents with women. There's not as many,
right.
There's not as many, a lot of things with women. I don't know if it's, because they calm down a little sooner. I mean, when we're younger, we're a little crazier too in general, so. But
they take stress a lot different than a man does. You know what I mean?
No, that's for sure. There's a whole different system that they take stress by. There's a whole different way that they evaluate things, it seems.
Right. Their muscles are built differently. Their bone structure is different than a man's. I mean, there's a whole list of reasons why. And plus, they are the life givers. They are the ones that bear life on this planet. So they need to kind of live longer than men, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Because they have to do all the nurturing and the mothering and the, That's the way that goes. What'd your grandmother teach you? She taught you how to be a moral, upright, do what you say you're going to do, live by your word. That's what I got from my grandma. She taught me all my morals and ethics and my values. And my mom and dad just reinforced them because they grew up the same way, right?
Yeah, well, I can't speak too much for my parents, but I do know my grandparents definitely tried to instill that in any of the children or grandchildren, about being straight and being direct with people and about, being honest about things and, and keeping to your word. This was a big thing. And it's strange because I don't know about you, but it seems to me like, in society, just in general right now, people don't seem to want to stick to their word. They don't seem to keep to their agreements. You know what I mean?
No, that's not what they're taught. That's not what Hollywood teaches them. That's not what they see on coming out of Washington. I mean, nobody in Washington tells the truth, do they? Every time they open their mouths, it's a lie coming out. They'll do anything. They see. What do I want to call it? It's not really the rat race anymore, right? We don't run this race. We're all we're still in competition with each other, but it's more of a strive for fame. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. They all want to be, and they'll stab you in the back for $1 or a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is true. It's just one of those things, and I'll tell you, it terrifies me a little bit because, I'm watching two of my kids grow up. They live with their mom separate from me. And,
that's going to be hard, man.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's part of why I came down. Everybody asked me a bunch of times, like, why did you move to North Carolina? But it's because,
kids.
Exactly, and I had to, what else was I going to do?
You got to be within arm's reach so you can give them one upside the head when they need it.
Well, yeah. But I'm watching them develop, and it's just kind of a heartbreaking situation because, I know what they're confronted with. I know my daughter stares at a tablet most of the day. She's a smart kid, but she's still stuck in this whole, see, I think that it's really, kind of instructive for people to think about this, with the information, because I know you like to say that, you have all this information at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
But here's
Overload.
the thing. Well, it's not just overload. Here's the problem. you have all the information you could possibly want in the world at your fingertips, but you have no knowledge because they're not retaining any of it.
No, they think, I don't need to worry about that. I can just find it on my pad later and type it into Google.
Yeah, just ask the internet, you know. I mean, it's just, I know
you're going to pass your test through the cloud, Dad. Through the cloud.
You know, that's great, but then, you know, when you ask them, you take away their little, final slab of choice, and, quite honestly, they don't know anything. They don't.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, I remember when I was in grade school, junior high, and this is going to really date me. That's when they started coming out with calculators, you know, Tandy. It's pocket calculators, you know. I mean, they had calculators at the stores and whatever, sitting on the counters or what, but they had these little pocket ones you could slip in your back pocket. They were about the size of a wallet.
Yep.
And teachers would freak the F out if they caught you with one in school because they knew that you weren't doing your algebra right. You weren't doing your arithmetic. You were just cheating. Mm-hmm. Now all these kids got cell phone and it's got everything on it. I mean, you know, calculator, Google, they can surf the web, they can find whatever and all these kids are walking around with them all over school. So, yeah. You know, I mean, go figure, right? Why do you think all the kids now look like they're in a fog? When you look at them, there's nothing behind their eyes. There's no fire. There's no zest because everything's at their fingertips. They don't have to work for nothing.
Well, that's the other thing also. They're not processing the information. So a lot of them aren't getting angry or upset about anything because it all passes by.
Oh, there's zombies.
Yeah, but it all passes by as an abstract, you know. Everything, whether it be an earthquake or it be a murder or it be a flood or it be, a weather disaster or Fukushima, it doesn't matter. It's all passing by on the same sort of wavelength on their little, tablet or their phone or whatever. So
even when something's happening right in front of their face, like a shooting or a stabbing or a cop beating the shit out of some innocent civilian, they don't walk up and say, "Hey, knock it off." They whip out their phone and start filming it to put it up on Live Leaks or YouTube or Hip Hop All Star or whatever the hell they got. You know what I mean? So the separation from reality is just, I mean, it blows me away every single day that I'm around public. And that's why I live in the middle of the woods and I don't go around the public very often.
Well, yeah, but here, but that's the trouble is that, when you see this disconnect, I mean, it's so alien to like you and me because look, I'm a little bit younger than you, so I remember the problem with the calculators, sure, but I don't know if you ever saw the calculator watches. A couple of kids could afford those. Yeah. And that made it even worse.
Absolutely.
Because now they couldn't take away your watch or tell you not to reach in your pocket. You were just wearing a watch, but now it's gone to such an extreme. You don't even have to know what numbers to put in. You can just talk to the thing.
I just got my iPhone 5C. I upgraded my phone. I got it for free, because I've been with the service for 4.5 years and I haven't done anything. So they told me, you get this phone for free, go get it. So I went and got it just for the hell of it, man, because it's got Siri on it and everything and I can talk to it and that's exactly right. And now when I'm driving down the road, I can text and drive because all I got to do is hit the little microphone and talk into my phone and then hit the microphone again and it types out what I said and then send it. So, I mean, the technology is just amazing. It really is. And I am a high-tech redneck. I tell everybody that. I like my electronics. But I like living in the woods, too. So it's kind of a conundrum.
You like your Apple stuff, but you still want to live in the woods. I know. I wish I could figure out a way to do what you're doing, but it's just not one of those things that's going to happen for me real quick. Eventually I'm going to have to get to it, though. Because I can't see myself participating in the mess I'm watching unfold around me. You know what I mean?
Eventually, you're going to run out of time. Because eventually, the stock market's going to hit this shitter, and eventually, the dollar's not going to be worth a shit. And if you make it through all that, then you'll have a pick of the litter, right? You can just walk around out in the woods and say, "Hey, there ain't nobody living in that one," and go live in it, right? I mean, because everything's going to go to shit in the handbaskets. And I've been talking about this for 18 months, right, on this network. And everybody's like, yeah, you talk about it all the time. Everything's going down. It is. And if you can't see it, if you're not aware of it, you're not paying attention. Now, I've been trying to, for 18 months, tell people to prepare themselves for it. And you've had 1.5 years to prepare, people, everybody that's been listening to me. So, what have you done? What have you done? You know, just a little quiz. What have you done? Have you stored away any food? Have you done, I mean, have you been listening? Because it's still coming. It might not be as quick as I expected it, but that's a good thing, right? It still gives you time to prepare.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for because, you know, I've only been around listening to you for about 4 months. So, you know, I'm making some changes, but
like you said, though, it kind of gets, it's like the boy that cried wolf, right? You say it so many times that people quit listening. It just kind of goes in one ear and out the other, or just, you know, you become a background din. And I think that's what happened to my listenership for my show. Because I used to get almost 35 people in there of a week. But they just, it just fell off. I don't know. It fell off. It's down into the teens now. And I really don't, I don't let it bother me because I know there's people out there listening online on TuneIn, whatever. And I know that, you know, there's people that give a shit what I say. And even if it's only one, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
See, that's where I'm at. And that's why I don't even bother to ask about my numbers or anything else. I don't want to know. You know, I figure what I'm doing is something that if it reaches just one person, I've done what I set out to do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's all I really want to do with, you know, with trying to give people an idea of what's going on around them and why you know, I know I delve into historical stuff a lot and some people are too thrilled with that. But it's part of the reality though. I mean, people say, you know, how did it get this way? This is one of the questions that always comes up. You know what I mean? If you don't
know your history, you are doomed to repeat it.
Exactly. So here's my thing. Let's just say we can somehow pull ourselves out of this tailspin we're in. I know you don't believe we're gonna, but let's just say we can. You know, the only thing that's going to keep us from repeating the same mistakes is to know the mistakes that have already been committed. You know, so to me, it's definitely worthwhile to still educate people about this stuff. And besides that, you know, a lot of stuff that seems historical is really current events anyway, because all you got to do is change a couple of names, add a little technology, and the same shit is going on now.
Right.
I mean, you know, when we talk about, when people want to talk about the, you know, the situation with, you know, let's just talk about the opium crops in Afghanistan, okay, real quick.
Oh boy.
Well, look, we know that there's stuff going on there, right? We know that the government is somewhat involved in it because obviously...
Whoa, stop. Pump the brakes.
I'm being nice.
Somewhat involved in it. They ship in the fertilizer. They guard the shit while it grows. They harvest it when it finishes growing. They pay to have the processors process it because they can't legally do that, right? Legally.
Right.
And once it's bricked up and shit, they throw it on planes and bring it back to the U.S. So, yeah, I think they're somewhat involved in the poppy operation over there. Yeah.
Yeah, you like that setup? Yeah, I know we have troops guarding it. We have people importing. Please, let's not even begin. But
here's anyone that wants to doubt that, the pictures are online.
Oh yeah, no, you can find it. All you got to do is look for
That's not hyperbole. That's a U.S. soldier standing in the middle of a poppy field.
Right. All you got to do is just type in, I don't know, a term like military guarding poppy field, and you'll get it. No problem. Images, videos.
Why do you think Pat Tillman took a bunch to the chest and head?
Yep, well, exactly. I'm right along with you.
He knew all the bullshit that was going on over there. He was like, I gave up a effing football career to come over here for this crap. I'm going home and telling everybody. And lo and behold, he didn't make it home. He sent some emails back to his folks, though. And if you really do some digging online, you'll find out that stuff's out there. And he was telling his folks in the emails that he was sending back, this is a bunch of bullshit. They lied to everybody. This is not what the Washington says it is, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting out. And bang, he took a couple to the chest and one to the noodle.
And what is really relevant about that? I'll tell you this. There's a whole lot of Pat Tillmans out there. Guys whose names you're never going to hear. Okay. And this kind of business has been going on a long time. Oh, yeah. Operation Phoenix, Operation Condor. It went on not just over there, not just with Poppy, but over in the southern hemisphere over here. You know, why do you think there was such a deluge of cocaine in the 80s and in the 70s? It's because at that time we were doing business with those particular warlords, okay? So it's the same game. It's being played over and over and over again, and nobody has seemed to have learned from it. So that is why, you know, I spent a little bit of time with Doug Valentine the one day talking about it. and trying to bring forth some of these facts. But the thing is, I think a lot of that stuff is getting missed by people. It's like, well, here goes Chuck with his history lesson. And they don't understand. What I'm trying to tell you is, look, they played this game before. If it worked, it's still being played.
And it's a lot of the same freaking people.
Yeah. And if it's not the same people, then they were taught by those people and put into place.
Or sons, or whoever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're the sons, they're the grandsons, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, everybody likes to point to the Bush family, and you know what? I got no problem pointing fingers at them. But, the thing is, if you look at Prescott Bush onto G.H.W. Bush, and you look at the involvement with all this different crap going on throughout the planet, pretty much, and then you look at W, and you look at, we might have a Jeb or Neil, presidency next. And every time one of these guys gets into, listen, it's a real, if we hold on to get to 2016, you do know that's one of the things they're talking about, right?
Yeah, Bush Clinton.
Yeah, another Bush Clinton. And look, I'm no fan of Hitlery, but, one side or the other, it's still the same thing anyway because they're partners anyhow.
Yeah, right hand, left hand, same puppeteer, And I saw a big blurb on Facebook today about how Hillary Clinton, if she gets into the White House, she's going to be the final axe blow to the toppling of the American tree, or so. I mean, they had some really, really colorful language to describe this evil lady running for president. But, if she actually makes it into the White House, then one of two things, and probably a little bit of both. The elections are severely rigged, and there's a lot of stupid people still out there. So,
well, see, I'm only going to counter that with one thing. It doesn't really matter what the people vote for.
No, because of the Electoral College and all that crap. I know. I know how the system works. That's why I'm not a part of it anymore. Right?
Yeah, and I did a weird thing recently. I registered to vote again, just so I could get some of the literature.
Yikes.
But I see no point in it. And it was kind of funny because I was at a DMV place and I was trying to get an ID because, like I told you, I'd moved. So, I'm getting in, they have the thing where you can register to vote there and all that. And I found it really interesting that the lady kind of hesitated after she said, Republican, Democrat. And I was like shaking my head. No. See, there's no box for that on their little form, is there?
I'm a Republican. No, I'm a Democrat. Sorry.
I wish I could have gave an answer like that because that would have just confused her even more. But she waited a few minutes and then, it was like, well, not a few minutes, but it seemed like, because she's looking at me. And then it was like, well, unaffiliated? And I went, and then it was like, well, how about libertarian? I said, okay, park me under there.
Yeah.
But here's the funny part to me.
Free
is that
thinker?
Yeah, there's no box for that again. But I chose libertarian because it was the lesser of the, the bad things on the checklist, I figured.
Right.
And here's the problem with that too, is that, see, the Libertarian Party has changed anyway over the years. This is now not, and you remember this, I'm sure, okay, I'm not sure of this, but let me just run it by you.
Libertarians will spew they'll spew all their rhetoric until a Republican walks in the room and then they go, yeah, that guy. So that's what I see.
Yeah, that's the way it is now. But you do remember the way it used to be, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
It wasn't that way for long enough to really stick. You know what I mean?
No,
so it got corrupted within a week or a month, a couple weeks to a month. So that's what I saw.
Every time. But there was an old Libertarian Party that I remember from when I first registered to vote, which was, around the time that Clinton was elected, which, by the way, I voted for him. But, yeah. I every once in a while I got to throw a weird admission out onto the air. I mean, look, what do you want me to do? I was like 18 years old, I think, and it was the first time I could vote. What do you want? But the Libertarian Party at that time was way different. They were talking about reducing the size of government. They were talking about legalizing marijuana. They were talking about stuff like this, and basically getting ignored. The Libertarian Party that you see now is basically like, Republican, anybody that seems to fit in the Republican mold, but is a little bit too far out there ends up in the Libertarian Party. And then, like you said, the second that these guys step into the room, that guy. You got it. They just follow the leader with the GOP guy that happens to step in.
Yeah, because he's a conservative. I mean, you know, that's the big push is conservatives versus liberal. Now they don't try to throw out the Democrat Republican anymore. They say that I'm a conservative leader or I'm a liberal leader. You know, and most people that are in the Libertarian Party have conservative values, right? They, you know, guns, God, country, blah, blah, blah. So they always, I mean, because they know that their party's not going to go anywhere. They're going to stand out there and wave their libertarian flags until the vote takes place and their guys left in the lurch, and then they're all going to jump on the Republican bandwagon. So what's the difference, right?
Well, that's what I say. And that's where I became, as soon as, like, you know, the Ron Paul thing started happening and people were trying to get me on board with that, I shook my head.
Please, man.
Because I said, look.
And then Rand. And now Rand. Everybody's like, stand with Rand. Stand with Rand. Rand's Republican now, dumb shits. I mean, you know, the only reason that he spews any of his rhetoric that his dad used to spew is to get more votes.
Oh, yeah, he's got no intention. I mean, I think his dad started out with good intentions. I really do. But once he was wrapped into the, you know, to the whole GOP system, it was all over. There was no way they were going to let this guy get into any sort of position where he could have a pulpit to speak from constantly.
They'll let him talk. They just won't let him do anything.
Well,
look, but Ron was on Capitol Hill for how many years? How many decades? Talking. Never accomplished much. I mean, he woke some people up and you know, I'm not going to throw any more rocks at him, but he just didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. He didn't accomplish anything. And Rand's the same way. He's just there so that you can fund his lifestyle.
Well, but isn't that what they're all there for?
Absolutely. Time? And I saw a good meme on Facebook today too, or I think it was, no, I'm going to throw that prop out to Lance. Lance is the one that hit me with that. It said, if you've been in Congress since before the internet, go home. It's not a retirement home.
Yeah. It does seem kind of strange, right? You know,
yeah.
They don't represent us. They represent only their own interests and the agenda that's handed to them, which, you know, is funded by those other people. You know, and I also have a problem because, and I know that, you know, that you and I differ a bit on a few things, but I mean, at this point in time, the condition of our country is that we are under, you know, what Mussolini described as fascism. There is no other way to describe this.
Corporations control everything.
You got it. Because argue against that for me if you can. What is it that the corporations are not currently in control of?
Me.
All right, brother.
I mean, that's about as far as I can go. I mean, I don't know. They pretty much control everything that's out there except for your farmer's market. That I'm, you know, what else? I don't know. Agenda 21 is trying to control all the water. Monsanto is trying to control all the crops. The United States Border Patrol is trying to control nothing. The BLM is trying to control every square inch of ground that's not occupied by a residence. So what, I mean, you know, they're in control of what you allow them to be in control of. I don't allow them to be in control of me or my ground, so they're not.
I got you, but I mean, I'm just saying, as far as the condition of the rest of the country outside of your, I forget.
Nobody gives a hang, right? Everybody's just apathetic. Everybody's just going back and forth from work to home, you know, 40, 50, 60 hours a week trying to pay for shit that they don't hardly ever see because they're constantly at work trying to pay for it. When they do get home, they're too tired to enjoy everything that they're paying for, so they sit down on the couch, flip on the tube, grab a beer, and watch the race.
See, but that's if you're lucky though, Jim, because, you know, in reality, look, I mean, 20 years ago, okay, I was able to earn less money than I could earn now. That's fine. But here's the problem. Even in the case of, like, say, 10 years ago, I was able to earn about the same amount of money that I could now if I get into the same types of jobs that I did, you know, now. But here's the trouble. Everything has gone double, triple, quadruple the price that it was 10 years ago.
That's because of the shit that's happening on Wall Street. That's exactly why I do the 15, 30, 45 minutes or whatever we decide to devote to the shit that's happening on Wall Street. Because that is how it's affecting your everyday life. Inflation. Hidden inflation. You know what hidden inflation is, right? That's when you pay the same amount for less product. You know, it used to be a 12-ounce can. Now it's only a 10-ounce can. But you didn't notice because the package is about the same size. They just put less shit in it.
You got it.
You know, that's called hidden inflation. And look, goddamn, go look at the price of milk and then Google what it was in 2010.
Yeah,
it's tripled in 4 years, less than 4 years. It's ridiculous. Right. And that's the way they rape you and rape you and rape you. And they're going to get down to where they take every goddamn last dime that you got, man, unless you protect yourself against it.
See, and that's where the trouble comes in, though, because you spend so much time trying to keep yourself on the wheel sometimes that, you know, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You can't pay attention.
The distractions. That's the information overload that we talked about at the beginning of the show. That's the distraction. You know, everything is just a distraction. Snowden was a huge distraction. He still got people believing in him. I can't believe that you people believe that Ed Snowden, and he had me fogged for a while, but I saw through it after a minute. You know, I started reading some bunch of behind the scenes stuff about him. He is the biggest plant that I've seen in my lifetime, I think. I don't know. I'd have to do some history digging. But if he really released anything that they didn't want out there, he'd be dead. It's just that simple.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be dead. Yeah. The Greenberg or whoever the hell he gave the information to that was drabbing it out, he'd be dead. You know, look, they capped Breitbart. You think they're not going to go after Ed Snowden? The reason that all that information came out and the whole NSA spying scandal is because they've already got tech that's past all that. They're watching you through your TV. They're watching you through your toaster. They're watching you through your microwave. They're watching you through your stove. They're watching you through your refrigerator. They know how much power you consume every day. They know where you consume it. They know what room that you spend most of your day in. The blah, 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 blah. They're way past that, man.
Oh, yeah. But see, that's been my contention with the Snowden thing. This is why I haven't covered it at all. Because to me, it was a non-issue. This is the kind of stuff that we were talking about for years. You know, the only thing that I think that people in the, you know, so-called new media or alternative media did wrong here is we really undersold how bad it was getting. I don't think that we had a clue exactly how integrated all these systems were going to become. And, you know, for those of you that think that you can protect yourselves from this stuff, I don't see how it's even realistically possible. I mean, because there's no longer.
We don't care.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at. Is that, you know what? Whatever they're going to see, they're going to see. You know, since I don't work for a government agency, there's no kiddie porn on my computer, so, you know, go ahead and look. But, you know, it's just one of these things.
Yeah, see, but you don't know, man. Some of the shit that you might have downloaded could have had it embedded in it, and you don't even know because you're not that savvy. You can't find it in all that code that's written in there, right? But once they get the place, you know, they get that computer to that FBI laboratory, all of a sudden it shows up.
Yeah.
See, so you really don't know. I mean, you can't sit there and say, I don't. I say, I don't give a shit, man. You know, I'm here. You guys know where I'm at. I got my brand new my brand new iPhone 5C. So I definitely know. And I asked the guy before I bought it, or, you know, before I picked it up, I was like, it has all the NSA software installed already, right? So they don't have to fuck with my phone when I'm using it. He said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And he just kind of nodded and winked and said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I said, well, good. So you guys know where I'm at. You know, I mean, you probably followed me through the whole move down here and all that crap. So just when you're ready, come on, because I'm ready.
That's one way to look at it, I'll tell you that. It's just, you know.
It's got to kick off somewhere, man.
No, I got you. But, you know, and that's the other thing is that I watched this whole thing go on with, you know, look. I know we've been over the Bundy thing, and I know we've been over the, you know, the American Spring thing and all that. I know. But here's the deal. At some point, one of these things has got to set something off. You know, I don't know where it's going to start. It's probably going to be one of the most, you know, unlikely of places where something stupid is going to set things off, I think. Well, I'm hoping. I
agree with Jules. I think it's going to be biological. The first thing that's going to hit this country is going to be something biological. There's too many bugs running around now with Ebola and MERS, and I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Ebola thing, but it's starting to spread around Guinea like wildfire, and they think that it's outside the borders of where they've tried to keep it contained. So they're getting ready to press the pandemic button on this Ebola virus that's out there now. So people keep your ear to the ground on this. I'm pretty sure stuff's going to start dropping over the next couple of weeks. It's going to shake us.
Yeah, well,
and always remember, when you hear the word Ebola, think man-made.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first problem is, I know when they first discovered, and I'm holding up air quotes when I say that, when they first discovered Ebola, it was reported that you didn't have...
when they discovered it in the monkey in the lab? Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Well, wherever it is they discovered it, let's not split hairs. But when they discovered it, if you noticed, the incubation period was shorter and the fatality rate was lower, right? Now...
Incubated for, 8 days? And I think it got up to about 48% fatality, almost 50%.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one that was in Zaire, is where they first found it.
Right, allegedly.
Yeah.
So the deal is that I think that they perfected it now. I think they've got it, so it'll carry a little longer. And that's the only way it's going to get out of an area, because let's be honest, if people don't move quickly enough out of an area, it's not going to spread quite quickly enough,
3 weeks. It can stay dormant in your body for 3 weeks before you show any symptoms at all. And think of how far, okay, say this person that got infected, this hypothetical person that we're talking about right now, they were down there trying to help out, right? And they were an aid worker for the United Nations. And they were down there trying to help out, but they had a really cheap mask. And they sucked this bug in on their last day, right? And then they went back home. And they had about 4 days off, and they did their laundry and did cleaning up around their house and went out to eat with some friends and infected them. And then they went back to the office after their 4-day vacation. And they did some paperwork and stuff at the desk, infecting everybody in the office.
Right.
And then they got another assignment. And in a couple of days, they were on a plane going somewhere else, back to the U.S. maybe or something, over to Europe, maybe to China. And they got off the plane, and they weren't feeling very good. A couple of days later, they started to develop a fever after they infected everybody on the plane.
Plane, airport, hotel,
just think. I'm just trying to play it out, man. I'm trying to connect dots here. Look, this is how fast this shit can travel around the planet, and nobody knows until everybody starts dropping dead. Now, regardless of whether it's man-made, regardless of whether it's a false flag attack or whatever, they've released this shit on purpose. It's going to kill people, and it's going to kill a lot of people. So, just don't put your heads in the sand on this one, folks. Keep a close eye on MERS and on Ebola. That's my suggestion to everybody. And stay away from highly populated places like malls and shit.
Oh yeah, for sure. But here's the thing with the MERS deal. I'm having a harder time getting my mind around that, because I don't understand. I remember the SARS thing that went on, right? SARS
was the South Asian respiratory syndrome.
Right. Well, but that's why it sounds similar to me, because this is, Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, right?
Right. That's just the way they name them. They're both coronaviruses, I think. So that's something else they got in common, but,
But,
as far as it being man-made, I have no idea. The last I know, when I did my investigation into MERS, is that it comes from camel sputum.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. The same thing is that it came from, first they said camel snot or something, and then if you dig a little bit more, it's actually anything that could be created by the salivary gland, this and that. And I understand that. Okay, fine. But now we're having a couple of cases over here, I heard not long ago.
Yeah, there's two in, one in Indiana, one in Illinois, and one in Florida that infected a couple other people. So.
What is it? You know what I didn't see, though, because when I was digging through the articles on that, because I kind of had to stop because there was something else going on, but I'm digging through the articles on it. I didn't see exactly how fatal it was. I didn't see,
3 out of 10.
So it's like a 30% deal, huh?
Yeah. I think over in Saudi Arabia, there's been 500 something people infected, and about 140 of them kicked it.
Well, that's high.
I don't think the guy in Florida died. I didn't hear anything about the guy in Florida dying, so I think he's okay. And I haven't heard of anybody dying in the U.S. from it. So I think, so far, it's just been Congratulations, you're one of the 7.
Yeah, well, but meanwhile, I mean, who knows if this thing will rear its head again? Because a lot of these diseases, they wind up sitting dormant in the system and coming back up. I mean, you're talking about the longer incubation time for Ebola and all that. I mean, look.
That, plus, how long have we been, how many decades have we been pumping antibiotics into this whole country? And, people develop resistances, bugs develop resistance, they mutate to where it doesn't, the antibiotic doesn't work on it anymore. That's what you're seeing with all the H7N9 and all the different bird flus and pig flus and stuff. That's all mutated.
Yeah, because it got some exposure to the antibiotics over time, whether you're eating it or you're actually taking it or whatever else.
Well, when you're breeding chickens, what's the first thing you're going to do? I'm going to vaccinate all these fuckers. I don't want anybody, I'm dying, spreading the disease around and killing my whole flock. So that's what they do. That's just like the kids, man. That's vaccinate the kids. There you go. That's how they develop the immunities, and that's how the viruses develop their mutations. They're like, oh well, we can deal with this. Let's just develop some kind of way around this virus killer, so we can kill the virus killer.
Yeah, it is. It's a deplorable situation, and the thing is that disturbs me most is for many years I was not aware at all of the amount of crap that was in the dairy, the amount of crap that was in poultry, the way they were producing this stuff. I mean, I'm always floored by looking at this stuff that I buy in the store, like when I try and buy some chicken in the store, the size of the damn things is ridiculous. Kim points it out all the time. You know what I mean? These like super large
kind of mini
pieces.
Turkey.
Yeah, right. I mean, the chickens are all pumped up, but here's the funny part. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I know when we were kids, they didn't look like this.
No,
they really didn't.
They were all different size. All the drumsticks were different sizes because they come off a different bird, but they're all uniform now. If you notice, when you're digging through a bucket of chicken, like Popeyes or Kentucky Fried or something, like almost all the drumsticks are the exact same size. All the wings are the exact same size. All the breasts are about the exact same size. All the quarters are about the exact same size because these birds are genetic copies. They spit them out. Yeah, they spit them out like a freaking machine. They're all white. They don't have any, you know what I mean? The down comes off of them like nothing. It's ridiculous, man. They look sick.
Yeah, and then we're eating this stuff, I mean, at least I was, but it's just, and when people say, and here's the funny part too, is that, when you try and talk to people about this kind of stuff, or you mention, because I know Fukushima is something that gets under your skin too, but I mean, you even try and talk to somebody about that who's not paying attention, who's not aware, that's completely out of their thoughts anymore.
But
there's nobody.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just like Lance and I say, if you have to elect to be stupid nowadays. You have to elect to be stupid. If you have a smartphone in your pocket, or if you have a computer at home on your desk, you have access to all the information you could ever think about wrapping your mind around. So you can find out anything you want to find out if you have the inclination to do it. But if you don't, then you are selecting to be stupid, and I have nothing for you.
Yeah, I understand that. But at the same time, I mean, don't you want to try and make a few more people aware about this? I mean,
I've been trying for 18 months, man. I really have. I've been trying for 18 months. I've been out there, running my gums and trying to get people to wake up to the world around them. And, I don't think like you said earlier, I really don't think there's anything we can do. I really don't. I think that it's going to have to break for any kind of change to happen. Because these people that are in power are not going to willingly give up their power. They're just not. They're going to kill as many people as they can. It's like the way they made it to the top to begin with, right? They stabbed everybody they could stab in the back to climb that mountain. They buried those knives in people to get where they are. So they're not going to give it up just because 20 million people bitch about it.
Well, that is true, but I mean, I just feel like if we can just, sort of round up enough people to decouple ourselves from this system a bit,
no, we're going to we have to break the system. We have to, or there's not going to be any ability to change. You're what are they going to do? They're going to give us a continent to ourselves? No. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We have to break the system and then try to fix it.
I got you, but I mean, outside of the dollar collapse, in which, will definitely change the game, what do you think is, coming that's going to actually, force the system to break itself? Because it looks to me like it's just aching to be broken,
The day they get ready to come for the guns, the day that they think beyond a shadow of a doubt that they can finally come get the guns is going to be the last day that things remain the same. That's what I see. Either that or there's going to be an invasion here or something. I mean, I really can't tell. There's so much, that's the information overload. That's why it's got me, to the point where I'm almost ready to pull my hair out or take this computer and just chuck it in the garbage and be done with it all. Because I don't want to sit here and go around in circles until the other shoe drops. And they've got me to the point now where I can't see which direction they're coming from, and it makes me a little nervous, I guess.
No, it definitely makes me nervous because they seem to be coming from all directions, but incrementally. And, it's like eventually we're gonna run out of, clear space to be in. So, it is one of those things that I'm not exactly sure how to articulate, because look, we look at things, in a global way. We look at things, at this point, information can travel from one end of the planet to the other, instantaneously. This is not the time where we should be as ignorant as we are, but as a race of people, it seems as though, like I said, there's no retention. Even though the information is at people's fingertips, there's absolutely no way that they're retaining it. And, I don't know. Maybe it's just I have this desperate desire to want to get more people to understand, to get more people to be, aware of these things because it is such a change. It's such a great thing to remember that you're alive again. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of like trying to wake people up to the police brutality. Look, like I said, if you're plugged in and you don't know about it, you're electing not to know about it. You're selectively choosing to ignore the stories because they're out there everywhere. You're even seeing them on the mainstream media from time to time now because some of them are so heinous. Shooting a 93-year-old lady. Yeah, that's going to make the 9 o'clock news tonight. Congratulations, dickhead. You just lost your job.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Everybody's plugged into Facebook. Almost a third of the planet is on Facebook, for Christ's sake. Now, if these people choose to not read the stories or selectively look away, then they're choosing to be ignorant to what's going on around them. And you can't, I think stupidity is contagious, and I try to keep it as far away from me as I possibly can because I don't want to catch it.
I don't think you will catch it, Jim. You're not that kind of guy. I think you built up an immunity.
Let's hope. Yeah. It wasn't from pharmacology.
No, look, it wasn't from, I
had to eat a lot of dirt.
Well, yeah, and not all the oil-based, petroleum-based medications and things, right?
Right. If you need oil, if you need some oil in your life, just go swim in the Gulf because there's plenty of it still there.
Oh yeah, that stuff is still washing up. Ay. And it's just, I don't know. It just becomes kind of frustrating because, on the one hand, I want to educate more people and I want to try and get them to be aware of these things and I want to try and see more of us out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, yeah, you're right. I mean, it is very, very difficult to cure stupidity, and I just don't have a degree in that.
And at this point in my life, man, I'm not sure that I've got the time or the energy to devote to any of that. You're either awake or you're not. You're either cannon fodder or you're not. After the shit hits the fan, if you come around, you seem like a halfway decent Joe, I might help you out. But, I'm not going to sit here and try to preach to you because I got better things to do with my time, man. I want to go cut my grass or plant something or, you know what I mean? Work on my solar system or if you want to hang out and listen to me run my mouth, that's great, man. You can hang out, toss me a hammer every now and again or whatever, and you can listen to me run my mouth about it, but I'm not going to selectively go out and try to find people to wake up. I'm just not going to do it. I don't have time for that anymore.
No, I got you. So you'd rather let them come on to you.
Right. You know, if you hear me, if you see the ucy.tv /BRR on the back of my truck and you want to talk about it, I'll tell you about what my show's about. I'll hand you one of my business cards. It's got my number, you know, it's got my name on it and the call-in number. And that's, you know, I'll say, give me a listen. You might agree with what I got to say and you might not, but I do everything in my power to piss off the government 3 times a week. So there you go.
Absolutely. I was handing out little cards too for a bit, you know, trying to get people, but you know what? I gave up on it because, I don't think I was getting, I mean, I'm getting some people that are coming in, you know, from other parts of the internet or tapping on the thing for tune in or whatever. And that's, you know, that's nice. And I do appreciate that. And I like some of the feedback and all that. And it's good. But I got to tell you that, you know, a lot of the people that have given me a chance or have given other people on the network a chance, a lot of them don't seem to understand what they're hearing. And I'm at a loss for that because, I mean, look, we're speaking English, okay, most of the time. And I don't understand how it is that they couldn't even take into consideration what we're saying, you know, at all. It seems like, and I don't know if this is that selective stupidity that you're talking about, or if it's something else. You know what I mean?
Well, you got trolls.
Well, no, there's trolls, but I mean, there are honestly people that I know that have talked to me afterwards, or I've given them a card, and I've seen them again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they didn't catch my show, but they caught somebody else's show, and they didn't seem to understand it because I knew the show they were talking about. And, you know, on occasion I do listen to other shows on the network. I mean, I listen to yours all the time. And there's a couple other people on the network I listen to all the time. But, you know, but I had caught the particular show they were talking about. And they totally misunderstood what the person was saying. They didn't follow the line of reasoning in any way, shape, or form. And I think this happens a lot more than we think. And I don't know why that is. I mean, I try to speak as clearly as I can. I know sometimes I trip over my tongue and whatever else, but I mean, I try to make my points very clear. I repeat myself on occasion, you know, not as a way of, you know, trying to mentally program anybody or anything like that. But I do try and just, you know, make my point and stick it a couple times just in case you missed it. Here it is again, you know, and when I'm working with a guest and trying to talk to somebody, I often try and even set up their points. Is that what the
Ochelli effect stands for, man? Are you predictive programming everybody when you talk? Is that what it is? Are you trying to put everybody in a fog in the Ochelli effect?
That's it. I'm trying to get you to look back at your Angry Birds. Now both of us are coughing here.
That was good. That was a good one.
You know, yeah, sure, why not? No. What I really want them to do is to start to think for themselves. Whether they're right or wrong, whether they make some mistakes, whether they discover some things that are disturbing, whether they discover anything, I want them to just start to think for themselves. You know, hate me, disagree with me, whatever you want to do, but as long as I got you to think about something for a minute, I did what I was trying to do. That's what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Every once in a while, I'll see somebody in chat talking about whatever, trying to follow the program that's on, but they're missing it, like you say, you know. Mm-hmm. And usually it's an anon, or it'll be somebody with a name that I've never seen before, or somebody, you know, like a newbie coming in.
Right.
And, you know, you kind of sit there and wonder yourself, how the hell did you find this network? You know,
oh, yeah.
If you're not in agreement with what's being said, or you have an ulterior, you know, how did you make it here?
So, I wonder that stuff myself because, you know, when you see one of these trolls come by and they start talking about, well, you know, Obama's a Muslim and this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's like, where the hell did you come from? You know, like that's not even relevant to what's going on, but okay. And then you wait a minute and then you see some other like, non sequitur coming in there, and it's like, okay, so it sounds to me like you're like a Fox News listener kind of guy, maybe. All right, and then you wait a couple more minutes, and I've read back on a lot of chats. I don't follow them during my show too well because, you know, visually it's difficult for me.
Right.
But I've read them back a lot of times, and I see a lot of nonsense, and I'm like, okay, and I know what you mean, the anons or whatever. Sometimes they're cool, sometimes they're not. You know, but you do wonder how the hell it is they got there in the first place. And it's not to say that you got to agree with every single thing that's being said. But I mean, in fact, if you agree with everything I say, please do me a favor and go check yourself into a mental ward because you got a problem. Okay? You should agree with anybody 100% of the time. If you do, then you're not thinking for yourself. You're simply following someone else. And I'm sorry, if you're looking for your savior on an internet radio station, you've made a mistake. Okay? And I know that sounds kind of rough, but man, that's how I feel about it. You know, I don't expect anybody to agree with me 100% of the time. I'm sure you don't either.
I don't care if they agree with me 100% of the time. I know what I know, and I say what I say, and don't get me wrong, people, I know a lot more than what I say. So, you know, I don't care. I don't care if they, you know, trolls they're gonna come in just because they're trolls. They want to come in and try to get you off your game. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if you're spewing the truth, you don't have to try to remember anything.
You see, that's the thing. I don't require notes most of the time when I come on. You know what I mean? Because I already have the knowledge in my head. I've already done the study or whatever. And, it's not too often that I get, you know, caught out there without knowing what the hell's going on, regardless of who's talking to me or what's going on. But at the same time, I say, you know, I don't want anybody to 100% agree with me. I'd rather, in fact, that you go out, you know, and figure these things out for yourselves and come back to me and tell me how wrong I was. Because you know what? I'd love to learn some more. You know what I mean? Show me I'm wrong. In fact, I'll tell you what, Jimmy, I would love it if somebody could show me that these chemtrails over my head are not harmful to me. I would love it if somebody could show me that fluoride in the water is not going to hurt me. I would love it if somebody could show me that my government has any of my interests in its mind at all. I would love for somebody to do that. Now, I don't think anybody will.
They're not chemtrails, man. They're health trails. It's all part of Obamacare.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy.
It's all out there to keep you healthy, man. It's talc is what it is. So you can go outside and just kind of open up your pits and rub it around a little bit and you won't get chafed.
Oh, that's great. That's good for my skin.
Mm-hmm.
See, now you made me feel better, sir. Thank you.
Glad.
I appreciate that. But, yeah, back to reality. Damn. Okay. So one other thing about, the chat room and the network. And again, guys, I'm really sorry. I know I don't pay that much attention to what goes on when I'm on the air. And I apologize for it. I really do. Because I know a lot of you guys are really smart people. I know a lot of you guys are, you know, more awake and aware than I am. I know that, that there's a lot of great people that are in there. But there is also kind of a weird undercurrent that goes on. Like you said, there's trolls and all that stuff. And I gotta be honest with you, sometimes I think that a lot of what I'm doing is not appreciated. You know, I'm not as rigidly formatted. Like, I'm telling you, I really admire your show. Okay? Because your show is probably one of the most professional ones we have on the network, right? There's been a couple of younger broadcasters who have come to me recently telling me that they want to do, you know, shows like this. And, they asked my advice because they heard some interview I did and this and that. And I participated in a couple of things with these guys, live streams and things, try to help them out, okay? The only thing I stopped short on is one of them got an interview with David Icke, and I told him I didn't want to participate in it. Sorry. But, I have no use for David Icke. But, that's me personally. Okay. Here's the thing.
I like Icke.
See, there you go. Like I said, you and I are not going to agree on everything.
Okay, let me ask you what throws you off about Icke. Is it just the whole reptilian thing? Or is it the whole he thought he was the son of God thing at one time in his life? Or, I mean, what threw you off on Icke? Because he's admitted to all his mistakes.
Yeah, but I understand he admitted to all his mistakes, and I understand the, but it just seems very much, like cult-like programming. It really does. It screams at me like mind control. Yeah. What's going on with him, and I don't like it. I don't like anything that has to...
You really think he's control? You really think he's Project Monarch?
I'm not going to make that statement directly, but I'm telling you what it feels like to me, Jimmy. This is my personal...
We will find out, and probably in our lifetimes, so...
Oh, yeah.
I guess we'll just hang on for that one. You and I will have to bet $1.
You know what? And I'll put it on it, because
Okay.
here's the thing. Every time I see one of these things where these guys, go off in certain directions like that, almost all the time I can trace, some backing from one of these like front companies, from one of these other. It always happens. I'm not saying I've done it with Ike. I've not gotten involved with him in any way, shape, or form, because I was completely turned off by the whole reevaluating your reality kind of thing. I understand that, perception is reality and all that, and, when you take a look at your eyesight and everything else, and that's a fascinating subject in and of itself, okay, because a person's eyesight does determine their perception of a lot of things. Your ability to hear, what it is you taste, what it is you feel, all those things. Your perceptions do build your reality, and I get that, because they're all of your points of reference and all that, and then people argue that, if you perceive this a certain way, then it is. I get all that. But here's the problem I have, and that is that, I've always kind of existed in a world where my perception is not the same as everyone else's anyway. It's not even similar. Okay? And even so, I can agree, that a tree is solid with you, Jimmy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I deny that a tree is solid, I'm not going to be able to walk through it. Okay? Not physically. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just, I don't know how to really put this into. I'm getting a little bit off track here, but I mean, my visual perception. Let's just say, and I know I brought this up before, but I probably never have explained this real well. I am so light sensitive that I literally see things in a different spectrum than most people. Okay. For instance, I can perceive visually, changes in heat. Okay? A lot of other people can't do that. Now, there's disadvantages. I don't have supervision. I can't triangulate distance, which, most people would refer to as depth perception. I can't use more than one eye at a time. So therefore, I absolutely have no perception of depth. Nothing is actually projected into my brain in 3 dimensions like it would be for you or for most people with average sight. But I'm also able to see fumes that other people don't seem to be able to visualize. I'm also able to see differentials between certain things. I can see energy that other people cannot see as it flows through other things. I can actually see magnetic fields sometimes.
I told you that back in that, a few weeks ago we were on after the last cup. I said, man, it would be cool as shit if you could see infrared.
Yeah,
if you could see heat. I would love to be able to see heat.
But I can see temperature change.
It's very weird.
I can see cold more than I can see heat.
It makes me think that your eyes belong to the NSA, though, because of the fluid that you put in them.
See, but that's the thing, is I was always like this. I mean, like I told you, like just simple things that are weird, like the color white. It's a prismatic effect that I see when I see something that's solidly white. Like even right now, part of the Skype thing on my screen, right? And it's projecting to me in colors that are kind of leaping forward, and they're changing and moving as they're being projected off of the screen. But it's only because it's the color white I'm actually seeing it broken down. Stuff like that. Now, the NSA owning my eyes, if they do, I don't know what the hell good I've done them. but good luck to them. And that was something that happened because of the, the whole experimental, contact lenses that failed on me. But that was a weird experience, I gotta tell you. And I really, I don't know anything I can relate it to, but I have talked to some people that are involved in that type of tech later on, and they tell me that it's pretty advanced, and it is the kind of stuff that they are working on for, mass distribution very soon.
Yikes.
But it's like smart liquid. It knows what to do.
Yeah, it's like self-leveling concrete, right? Just put this in your eye, man. It's going to fill in all the little dips and shit, make you see all clear.
Yeah, that was kind of the concept. But because of the...
Wah, wah.
Yeah, because of the... actually, it was hard to get it out
Because
what is it, enamel or something? I mean, there's very few things that they can put in your eye that will turn ocularly clear enough for you to see through. One being molten glass. I don't think they did that. So,
No.
what did they make a Lexan plate and turn it into, what the hell was it?
See, that's the weird thing, is it was just sort of like a fluid, which was introduced. They had separated, little like, what do you call these? They're sort of like, you ever see the disposable eyedroppers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sort of like that, but larger. Okay? And there's only a little bit of fluid in them. And they're prepared ahead of time. They took a whole bunch of measurements and all this other stuff and tested me 80 different ways and, flashed lights and photographed and used lasers to go look behind my eye. And
this is how many hundredths of a cc it'll take to coat his whole outer eye, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So there's this little itty bitty tiny bit of liquid in the bottom of something like a Clear Eyes kind of disposable. And they just dropped it in there. They made sure that my lids were open and dropped it in. And when they did, it was supposed to, take its form and be able to do what it was supposed to do. But I basically ended up with my eyes swollen shut. And then when they pulled it out, it resembled like a really super soft kind of contact lens.
Yikes.
Except I'll tell you one thing that I perceived from it, though, even though I could not see well, so I can't swear to this. But I would swear to you that the thing was kind of like almost not, I don't know, somewhere between twitching and vibrating when they took it.
Did it burn?
Yes.
See that? Yeah, man, I'm telling you, they got into your brain somehow.
It burned like hell, and then they had to put patches on my eyes for a couple of days.
Yeah, they got into your brain somehow. They're a part of you now. You're part of the you're Borg.
Well, resistance is futile.
Ochelli Borg.
Oh, the Sicilian Borg. Nice. Love it. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean...
The blind Borg JFK researcher. Don't try to tell him anything, man. He knows the collective conscious on JFK. So don't mess with Chuck.
And, that was another weird thing. As many times as I've been on, and everybody gets sick of it because they go, oh, there he goes with his JFK crap again. But as many times as I've been on and tried to clarify certain things, I'm telling you now that people that are listeners to this network don't hear what I'm saying. Because they keep repeating over and over the same stuff, even though I tell them, look, go look at this stuff. Please go look at somebody else. Most people would expect and respect somebody like G. Edward Griffin, right? As far as the Federal Reserve goes, at least, and the history of it, and what, economics in general, let's just say.
Yeah, because he was part of the big club.
But I can even point to him and tell you, look, this guy agrees with me about something that has to do with JFK stuff. And it's not heard, it's just repeated again the next day by somebody else. You know what I mean? And I just go...
It's kind of talking points, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
Trolls have them, too.
Yeah, trolls have them too, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think we don't give enough credit to the AJs of the world because they really inundated a lot of other people. And I know that, that maybe they were part of the awakening process for a lot of people and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of the information is wrong anyway. you know?
And I'm not throwing stones at anybody. I'm being full up front. AJ was one of the ones that got me into the alternative media, to finally listening to alternative media. And because of the fact that I got tired of listening to AJ sit there on his stack of ammo, bitching about how they were, everything was just imminent, I found Oracle. And through Oracle, I found Jules. Or she found me. And that's how I got where I'm at. So I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for AJ. I can toss that out. Because I don't think I'd have found Oracle Communications, Oracle Broadcasting if it wasn't for AJ. And me giving up on him and searching through all the other alternative stuff online. So.
Well, I got you there, but I mean, maybe it's just because I probably have less respect for him because of the fact that I came through it a different way. Because I was listening to shortwave radio and long-wave radio, and I was listening to a lot of kooky stuff, but I was also listening to a lot of people that made sense. And that was before the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing I found out about AJ after listening to him for about, I don't know. I listened to him in the background for a long time, I guess, for a few years. But I didn't really start giving him any credence for, but I figured out that he was taking his stories from other people and claiming that he's the one that found that and broke and blah, 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 blah. And I would do my little research and I'd find out, well, hey, you didn't break that story. This guy did. And that's where you got it. Look, you're paraphrasing everything that he said in this article. And that's what kind of turned me off on him. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you there. That's part of the problem. And, I know a lot of us get our, we're not on the ground everywhere. So we got to get our news from somewhere. But yeah, when you're looking at somebody that's wholesale just taking over somebody else's stuff, I mean, it does kind of take the wind out of the sails of, of your legitimacy as an alternative media person. And, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. But I also know at the same time though that a lot of people came to this information because they at least started to think about things differently because of that. But not only him, but I mean, there's been a lot of other people, and Oracle was a great place. I used to enjoy a lot of the stuff over there. And, there was a couple other networks I'm not even going to bother to mention, but, Jules had been around in a lot of places actually. And, that's her story, but I don't want to tell it. But the thing is that, it was kind of a conglomeration of all this stuff as far as I'm concerned because, I started looking at things differently earlier on with those, just open broadcasts. And then, after a while started seeking things on the internet. And, you'd have to run across, the Jones Corp stuff now and then, especially because it was always seemingly in line with everybody else that was, giving you something different to think about. But, I also know that, even though it gets a little strange sometimes, I actually do still appreciate Clyde Lewis, who's, who does the Ground Zero. Yeah. I mean, that's an awesome show. Although I got to tell you, I get a little turned off because, as I made very clear last week, I'm not very much for the whole alien agenda. But so sometimes I get outside of that stuff with him. But when he talks about the different memes and the different signs and the different possibilities and streams of consciousness, plus what else is usually he allows phone callers to speak their piece. Which is another good thing on that show. Which, by the way, we do have the phones, right?
Actually, I didn't even go to the network before we started this whole broadcast. I just actually added you in to me. I called you and then added in the network. So, but I did go to UCY and look, and I think the phones are forwarded to you. So, you should be able to get calls in.
All right.
If you want to. If you want to throw the number out, we got about, 25 minutes left, 26 minutes left.
Yeah, that's what I figured. If anybody wants to join in, say anything, hell, yell at me, I don't care. Whatever you want to do, of course, 718-717-8296. 718-717-8296.
Yeah, because as soon as your music starts rolling, I'm going to have to drop and go over to the network so I can run after the last cup and get everybody added in for that one.
Oh, yeah. Who do you got coming up on there, by the way? Anybody?
Lady Pitbull's going to join me, and I think Lance actually said that he was going to come on too. He took a nap today, so he's got all kinds of energy, and he's going to pop in there. And you said you wanted to come on after you got done doing your business thing, so whenever you get back from doing that, just hit me up, and I'll add you in too. Yeah,
I'll do that as soon as I get back, but I'm not sure how long it's going to take, so, I'll let you know. Yeah, Jules sent me a message, actually, that the phones are on me, so I didn't see that till just now. Of course, I'm too busy looking at the rainbows, to sometimes see things, so little orange dot gets lost because the orange is leaping off of the white.
Right.
All right, a few more birdies in the back there. I love that, man. I really love the critter mic.
Yeah, I like it too. It's just peaceful out here. You can just go sit outside. I can sit outside and don't even have to listen to anything. Just listen to the nature all around me for hours and hours and hours. It wouldn't bother me a bit. I did hear the birds fussing just a little bit before the sun finally went all the way down, but I didn't hear Carl let loose. One of these days I'll get him on there.
Well, if he's not going to do it on your show, he shouldn't do it on mine either, so.
Right. What do you got coming up next week?
Well, next week, I got a few things in the air, and this is what the problem has been too, is that a lot of people canceled on me, moved things around, did different things.
Right.
So I'm not actually sure. I know on Tuesday I'm going to revisit the Liberty Beacon thing, and still working on the updates on that. It's going to be a little more of a slow process than I thought, because I thought that things would get moving a little more with that community in Colorado and all that. But I'll keep track of it over time. I might switch that to every other week and drop something else in there. As you know, I'm always trying to get some interesting people on, but I wish I could stack up some of my failures real quick, and get a couple of those on in a row, because there's been a few people that have sort of either ignored me or changed their mind about coming on, and it's kind of unfortunate because I'm always after the people that are witnesses to history as best I can. And sometimes they're reluctant, sometimes they change their minds, or they're
Shit, you can
different parts
interview
of the
yourself,
world.
man. You're witnessing history every day.
Well, funny you bring that up, because I tried. Now, there's been this recent thing, and I know this is not something that everybody keeps track of, but just like you have your stuff you listen to, I got my stuff I listen to as well. And I'm always trying to keep up on what people are discussing in what we call the JFK research community, because I'm still interested in it, And the thing is that there is such a sort of online war going on between researchers at this point. I'm kind of glad that I'm not involved, but I think I'm going to get sucked into it. So it might be that I have to sort of state my positions at some point and actually do a couple of shows on that just to get it out of the way. And I was actually going to bring somebody on to kind of turn it around and interview me about what it is that I've actually learned and how it is I got to it and all that. But right now I'm trying to dig through a bunch of audio, which I actually have everything on MP3 now, but it's not organized well, and I've got to make it more consistent because I've got 7,000 hours of audio. That's the last count I got of different interviews, different radio broadcasts. I mean, everything from the news that day to the local news that day, the national feeds, all that stuff is all on I think it's on 8 DVDs right now, something like that. And like I said, mostly in MP3 format. I've got it down to there, and eventually I'm hoping to put together my original interviews with some of the historical stuff, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to actually sell that as sort of an archive for JFK research.
Sweet.
That's one of the things I'm working on. I'm also trying to get another witness from the RFK situation. He's real reluctant and has not talked to anybody since, I think, 76 was the last time he actually spoke to someone. So I'm working on that. And I have a couple of ideas, like I said, about the JFK guys that, have serious disagreements with me about other things too, like 9/11. There are some people out there that, quite honestly feel like the JFK assassination was a conspiracy, but 9/11 is the official story. I'm not kidding you, Jim. I know it sounds insane to you and me. And this is something else I didn't understand recently.
That's when you look at them and go, you wear Velcro shoes?
But you would think that. But meanwhile, these guys are look, I don't put a lot of credence when somebody's got, letters after their name, PhD, MD. I don't give a damn what your letters are. Okay. But some of these guys are seriously intelligent people that, can sit there and dissect all this historical information. Real well. But they have no clue about, anything that happened after 1980. You know what I mean?
Just look at them and go, so you know for a fact, because of your research into JFK, that the government lied about that, but you think they're telling the truth now.
But you're almost quoting exactly what I say.
Yeah.
You're almost quoting exactly what I say. I'm look, You understand they lied about this. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. So they created a whole commission to lie about it. Yes. Okay. Okay. Then they had a follow-up thing because there was an outcry, and then they followed it up and covered it up again. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So you realize they're still withholding documents. Yes. So you see that a major event, which was something that the public wanted to know about, that created an outcry, was completely obfuscated by the U.S. government, was completely obfuscated by every single agency. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So why is it you're going to tell me they're going to tell you the truth about that? Well, because, pretty much, and their answer almost always is, like, they saw it happen on TV. Right. I am dumbfounded by that. We didn't see the JFK assassination on television as it happened. It wasn't broadcast live. There were, that is the day the news went live, and that is the day the electronic media kind of went into its 24-hour mode for the first time and all that kind of stuff, and I understand that. But you mean to tell me that simply because you saw those planes hit those towers on TV, okay, I'll just accept that that's what you saw, that the whole rest of the story now makes sense? That the government didn't cover that up. So it's willing to go through all this trouble, all these years, all this other whatever else. Let's just say that some of them even believed that they killed witnesses, that they silenced people, they pushed people out of the way and everything else for the murder of one man. But they wouldn't go through that much trouble for 3,000?
Right. They just don't have any logical argument. They can't make a decent case as to why they believe what they believe, other than, well, it's the official story.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, look, I could accept it if you're somebody, if you look at me and you go, well, I know Oswald did it, and I know, and yeah, of course, Sirhan killed RFK, and, whatever else, blah, 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 blah. And of course, that's what happened. 19 guys with box cutters, that's that. If you're consistent all the way around, I get it. Okay, you have your head up your ass. Thank you. Have a good day. I get it. But I don't understand that disequilibrium between, excuse me, like I said, they could lie about the murder of one man because it was in public, but the public execution of 3,000 people, that they're going to tell you the full truth on, right? I don't know. I can't live in that kind of duality, And I'm not even saying I have the answers. As a matter of fact, my conclusion on the 9/11 thing is that I don't have the answer as to what happened. But I absolutely don't buy the official story because it doesn't make any sense. And even looking at the television footage and whatever else, it still doesn't make any sense. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but I mean. It's inconsistent. I look for consistency in a story. You know what I mean? If you can make a sensible argument to me as to why this makes sense, I'll try and see if I can wrap my mind around that. You know what I mean? But if you can't, and at the same time you're arguing on exactly the opposite side of the, of the street, you can't be on two sides of the street at the same time. You either think that the government is not lying to you, or, they changed their policy, I guess, So all the executions and all of the assassinations and all of the coups, going back to, our friends from Sullivan and Cromwell, who ended up going to, deal with Mossadegh in Iran, all the way on up to, all the adventures in South America where we basically installed death squads, all of this crap that went on in the Middle East, backing bin Laden, then vilifying him, then supposedly killing him and dumping him at sea and everything else. All this makes sense to you. Not me. I don't know.
Scratching my head.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it, and so, I mean, I've kind of put a few of those people aside because I just don't want to, I don't want to bring that on because it's just, I don't want to spend my time arguing over that, but.
That's why I don't waste my time trying to wake people up anymore. If I meet somebody and I think they're worth having a slight conversation with, the first thing I'll do is look up in the sky, and if I see a chemtrail, I'll point to it and go, what's that? And if they don't tell me that it's a chemtrail, then I don't even bother. I just walk away.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at with it, and so, I mean, I've kind of put a few of those people aside because I just don't want to, I don't want to bring that on because it's just, I don't want to spend my time arguing over that, but.
That's why I don't waste my time trying to wake people up anymore. If I meet somebody and I think they're worth having a conversation with, the first thing I'll do is look up in the sky, and if I see a chemtrail, then I don't even bother. I just walk away. Have a nice day.
What if they tell you they don't know what it is?
Well, tell them, you ever heard of chemtrails? You know what chemtrails are? Oh, yeah, that stuff's on Facebook. Yeah, okay, then we'll kick it off like that. But, you know, if they're going to be a complete waste of time, then I don't have the time to waste.
Yeah, I guess I'm still sorting through that. I guess you're settled on it. But it's just one of those things that I'm still struggling with, because I just have this hard time. You know, I'm not the most brilliant human being in the world, you know, but I don't feel as though everybody should be dumber than me all the time. You know what I mean? So I can't see that everybody who is a zombie by choice. I think that some of them are hoping that something will wake them up. And I don't know. Maybe that's just my, what do you call that? I guess I'm not quite the pessimist that I like to pretend to be sometimes. But, you know, but my optimism is often tainted, I guess, by this stuff. Well, anyway. So look, man, I know we're down to the last 15 or so here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, you know, I sort of wanted to have this loose conversation with you tonight. I know we didn't plan anything out or do anything else. You know, but I'm actually really glad I did this. And, you know, again, you know, listening to your show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which, by the way, for a while there, I was confused as to what time you were on. I used to have to catch you on the archives because of that inconsistent
two different
time.
start times. Yeah, it kind of throws people sometimes. But, yeah, Monday and Fridays, 8 Eastern. Wednesdays, 9 Eastern. So.
Right, and the Wednesday is the 2-hour show, and the Monday and Friday is the 1-hour show.
Right.
See, I'm a little off too, because actually I've gotten a guest confused on that too, because they think, well, you know, you're 6 to 8 now, so they think I'm 6 to 8 on Saturday, and I'm like, no, that's 8 to 10. Kind of wish I was 8 to 10 all the way around, but you know, what are you going to do? It's the way it is.
Yeah. Jules is doing some moving around, so she might change some slot times and whatnot. We'll see. We'll see how everything pans out next month.
Yeah.
Which is tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We are at the beginning of June.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I hope to accomplish. I mean, I'm still trying to pin down somebody for the first couple of days of June because, you know, I still got a little more that I want to put out about the RFK assassination. There's a couple of other historical events that I'm debating about bringing on, but I really don't want to waste people's time with just my ideas about it necessarily. I'd like to get some support on it. So, you know, I've got a bunch of things kind of up in the air at the moment. But I've also been trying, like I said, to work with these other guys on other networks, and I don't know if you caught any of that. I know you did the 1 week when I had a couple of guys on, but you know, I'm trying to just feel things out still. It's still a work in progress, you know. Like I said, you know, I'm not gonna sound as smooth as you, and I'm not gonna be as well regulated as you are, sir.
Oh, so, shit, man. I'm just me. I'm actually lucky I'm, you know, still alive, to be honest with you. All the shit I've done in my life, I'm lucky I'm still here. But, I appreciate the flowers that you're throwing at me, man. You know, I'm just a regular Joey bag of donuts that went out and bought a mic and a board and sat down behind a computer and started spewing what I feel. So, some people like what I say, some people don't like what I say. You know, I guess I'm gonna tell you that it makes a difference to me. Because it does. I'm a human being. I have feelings and stuff, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to go on doing what I'm doing, whether people listen to me or not. You know what I mean? It's not going to affect me personally in my life. It's not going to make me chew on the barrel of a gun or anything like. You know what I mean? So
I got you. Well, you know what? I'll tell you something else. I know you dropped me the one thing earlier today, and I'm going to look into that. I'll tell you that. But, you know, if you have any ideas for what it is that I'm doing and you know, or there's something that you want me to go after, I mean, by all means, You've got my ear for sure. There's a couple other people that do too, but I am looking for suggestions, guys.
Man, I'm telling you, dude, if you run with that Flacco shit I gave you, that would be an excellent show, because I know you could turn that into something. I probably could too if I really wanted to dive into it, but like I told you when we were talking earlier, I want to keep my show more relevant to today's stuff. I mean, I dig history. I study history a lot. That's where I get most of my information from, but I try to bring it forward and, make it relevant to what's happening today. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I know exactly what you mean. And you know what? As we're getting down to the last 10, one more thing. Now, I had a good time with you guys on the air, but I'm telling you, it freaked me the hell out when we started looking at the Michelle Obama stuff. Oh, yep, here we go. He's got to clear himself up before we go into this.
I told you, well, I don't know if I dropped you that video or not, but I told you where that video was online for you to go look at that shows the whole physiology of man versus woman. And I'm telling you that's Michael Obama. That's not Michelle. That's a Michael Obama, with some plastic surgery and, I don't know what else, but that's, I don't know. That's what I believe to be the truth. And
that is one of the strangest videos I've ever seen. I got to tell you, because the problem was I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, okay, maybe it's Photoshopped and whatever, right? So I said, okay, we'll try and find something else that's going on. And I went and I looked at some of the, other sources for those pictures and everything else. And meanwhile, guess what? They look just like the ones in the video, and there's a bunch of videos out there like that, and, it was so stunning to me. I was at a loss for words when I went back home with you that night, because I went, wow. But you know what it speaks to me is that, the people that are playing the game, the people that are putting on the show are definitely not telling you the truth for a variety of reasons. And, remember this too. There was supposed to be an air of transparency that was going to come in when Obama took over as president, right?
That air of transparency started when he sealed all of his college records and transcripts and sealed all of Michelle's college records and transcripts. And that's when the secrecy, or that's when the transparency started, yeah.
Right, the transparency, right. And, and here's the thing. I don't blame it all on him, because he's just, he's another meat puppet for whoever's in charge holding the stick. But, people that want to point to that, that election as being the downfall and everything else, and look at the secrecy that came in and all that. Remember this. And I got to tell you something that kind of makes me a little nervous, actually, personally. Here's the deal. I spent a lot of time getting, documents from the National Archives, right? Mm-hmm. So while W's in office, he turns around, and even though we had the JFK Records Collection Act in the mid-90s, which everybody knows was prompted by the Oliver Stone film and all that, it wound up forming a 5-member civilian board under the executive branch, blah, 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 called the Assassination Records Review Board. Go ahead and take a look at it if you want to see its reality, okay? They declassified tons and tons of documents for people like me to sit and dig into for the next decade, which it does take about that long, because a lot of it is crap and useless. But after we had possession of this stuff, could order this stuff and everything else, W comes in as president, and guess what he does? Turns around and reclassifies a whole bunch of it, and it continued under Obama, right? Now here's the fun part. I've legally obtained documentation. So you figure I got it from the National Archives. I could turn around and call them back and say, hey, look, I want to be in compliance with the law. I don't want to be in possession of classified documents illegally. So which documents should I return? Guess what their answer is? They're not allowed to tell you because it's classified. So you ready for that? So just as a researcher, you could be in possession of illegal material unknowingly because you don't know which documents are reclassified. All we know for certain is that a bunch of them were. Isn't that fun?
Makes as much sense as the rest of the government.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to point that out though, because like I said, a lot of people like to point to the Obama administration as, the heralding of the apocalypse and all that. I say this all the time. I believe it's been happening in slow motion over my entire lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I know I talk a little fast sometimes, and and I make some sort of strange little offhanded smartass remarks. It's my way of doing things. I understand that, people. So sorry when I piss you off and all that, but it's who I am, and it's who I'm going to continue to be. So it's up to you if you want to hear it or not. Again, I'm not going to be as smooth and straight as this guy I'm talking to tonight, but few of us have all that talent anymore. I had a better voice at one point.
And then you got into death metal.
No, that didn't.
I'm just giving you shit, dude. I'm just giving you shit.
It's okay. Go ahead, Jimmy. Listen, we got a couple of minutes left. If you want to, as a matter of fact, I give you whatever you want to say to me. Please hit me with it. With the worst thing you want to say, do it. I'm here.
No, I got nothing bad to say, dude. I'm not throwing any stones at you. I'm just saying,
It's okay.
People used to comment on my voice all the time, and I tell them, you can have a voice exactly like mine. All you got to do is smoke a pack of cigarettes and drink a gallon of vodka a day. I'm kidding, of course. But no, I mean, I have no talent other than being able to sit in front of a microphone and run my mouth for a couple hours. That's the only talent I got. I pay attention to what's going on around the planet, and I try to tell people, what they're missing. So.
But there are nuances to that, and there is a technique involved there, and whether you know it or not, you naturally have it.
Well, I appreciate it, man. You do too. I'm telling you, you could do commercials, you could do all kinds of radio stuff. You just need to get out there and offer your talents to people that appreciate what you have. Well, and I think you should have sold your book already, to be honest with you. But
well, you know what it is. It's not all together the way it needs to be, and I just haven't been able to put it together. Like I told you, I have the photographs and all that, and I have, the basic outline, and I have a few chapters together, but I'm not sure if I can actually, if I can accomplish that at this point. And publishing, of course, changed, but, anyhow, so we're just about ready to wind it up, and I'll tell you what, it's been a real, it's been fun, Jimmy. I know it's been a little weird for you because you're usually not, involved in this kind of conversation with just one guy for this long, but I like doing this because it gets people to relax a little bit, talk about some things that are of interest, and I was really moved by the story about your dad and everything, and I don't know if you've ever brought it up on air before, but I'm just happy to have done this with you, and I'm glad to know you just in general, and again, I really love the show, and I look at you as a I don't know how to put this without sounding too, silly about it, but it's sort of like a brother soul, you know what I mean?
I appreciate you, man. We walk the same ether. We walk the same ether, otherwise we wouldn't have met. So that's the way those things roll, right?
Exactly. And, of course, I'm always happy to be here on UCY.TV. The Ochelli Effect, and it's pretty shortly here. My bumper music is going to kick in and be all nasty and noisy.
Yeah.
But
got about 50 seconds.
Just a little bit, about 50 seconds. Yeah, that looks about right. But definitely tune in on Tuesday at 6 p.m. because I'll be doing my Liberty Beacon thing. On Thursday, I might have a big old surprise for you. But if you take a look at the Ochelli Effect on Facebook, you'll see on the SoundCloud, and if anybody wants to email me, Chuck, CHUCK 1972 at Lycos, LYCOS.com, and I'll be glad to take any sort of input or feedback from anybody who has anything of intelligence to add. So, Jimmy, again, thank you so much. Jim Funky, the host of Boiler Room Radio. And,
I appreciate you, Chuck.
And I appreciate you, sir. And I'm telling you, man, listen to that voice. That is all there is to it right there. Have a good night, and stay tuned for After the Last Cup. at the age of 19 in 1962, she was
See, but I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? You know, pistols and bottles of choice, I don't know what that was. It doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not just Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real these days, because seriously,